This is Rant number 2, and I've got to jump into this today. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that I'm wearing the exact same clothes as I was in the previous episode with Jacob Jorgensen, and here's why. We hit on a topic in that conversation that hits this idea of empathy, and empathy has been in my mind for the last 48 hours, and I can't get it out of my head, and the stars are aligning, and I've got to get this out. I was talking with a friend yesterday, too, who's a designer who's trying to get into the creative field. He comes from a business background, much like myself, which I can respect. And he's trying to learn what it is to be a good designer. He and I together were talking about empathy yesterday. When I went to bed last night, I was turning on ESPN just because I got to find a way to shut off my brain. As I'm turning on ESPN, one of their specials about, it was Russell Wilson and Saquon Barkley. I think it was called QB to RB. Russell Wilson is giving Saquon Barkley some advice in coming into the NFL. He too hit on this point of empathy. So again, the stars are just aligning. I've got to get this one out. Follow me here. I want to talk a little bit about what empathy is. As a designer, you are seldom your audience, right? Very seldom are you designing that's going to be meant specifically for you. This wasn't necessarily always the case. I mean, I felt this earlier in my career when I was younger, designing for high energy, outdoor, board sport, like that kind of stuff. Like I felt like I could get into the mind space of who that target audience is because I was that audience. However, as I've gotten older, I've realized that I don't always fit the criteria of what the right demographic and target audience is. Things change, culture change, personalities change, behavior changes, and ultimately, everyone is going to be different. So seldom are you going to find yourself in this situation where you are the target audience. You need to deploy empathy in order to get into the mindset of who that target audience is. You need to deploy empathy in order to get all the information that you need from key stakeholders. What is empathy? Let me read this quote from the QB to RB with Russell Wilson last night. Russell Wilson said, "If you really want to be great, you've got to be curious. You've got to ask questions. You've got to want to know. You've got to be on the constant quest for knowledge." And here's why I think that's applicable to what we're talking about right here. If you want to figure out the best solution for any product, if you want to problem solve the best user experience, you've got to ask questions. You've got to want to know. Too often do I see people just thinking they have all the answers. You know, somebody rattles off, "This is what we're trying to do," and boom, I got the answer. This is what we need to do. It doesn't work like that. You may have a answer, but is it always the best answer? In order to come to the best answer, I have found deploying empathy, asking questions, helps me get into the mind space of the end user. I get to deploy empathy when I'm talking to the business owner or the stakeholder, the executive, whoever it may be, and I understand where they're coming from. If I don't ask questions, I can't get to that level of understanding. I talk to developers and I understand what it is that they're seeing outside of this concept or how they might want to develop. And if I don't ask questions, how can I understand what is best needed on their behalf? And then ultimately the end user. If I don't ask questions to the end user or have an idea of who this persona is, how do I get into the mind space of what they are trying to achieve and what they're trying to do? Deploy empathy and ask the right questions. When you do that, you're going to come up with the best end product. Without doing that, you're just going to stumble over and over again with what you think is the right answer, but it's not going to be successful. Empathy. I'm trying to drive that one home. That's my rant for today. You can take it or leave it. Hey, podcast listeners. Did you know I've got a YouTube channel? Maybe you didn't, and that's okay. That's why I'm here to plug it. You know what else is okay? Being just a podcast listener. I get it. That's why I started this. I listen to podcasts pretty much every morning, either driving into work or sitting at my desk. Podcasts are great. I get it. But if you want to see my face, I won't say pretty face. I'll just say if you want to see my face and the face of my guests, then go on to YouTube, check out my channel, subscribe, and give our videos a watch. I'd appreciate that.